Hi.
Hi, I'm Counselor Shay. I will be your counselor for today. Can I ask you what your name is?
My name is Gabby.
Gabby. Usually like to be called Gabby.
Well, my full name is Gabriella, but you can call me Gabby.
Gabby. How do you spell Gabby?
So Gabby is just Gabby.
Okay. Gabby. Nice to meet you, Gabby.
Hi, nice to meet you as well.
So before we started this session, I had you read this confidentiality agreement. Do you understand what this entails?
So I am underage. So I think I understand everything. But I did read something that everything in this session is going to be confidential, correct? So what is that? What do you mean by that?
So because you are under 18, you are considered a minor. So
Okay.
I do want you to know, and I really want you to be like trusting and comfortable that everything that you tell me will be kept just between you and I. Like I will not be having to tell anyone anything.
Okay.
Unless you are considering harming yourself or other people, I might have to talk to like my supervisor and go from there. But also because you are under 18, your parents can be involved in the process. So if they
Okay.
have any questions about our sessions or anything, I might have to disclose some information. But everything that you tell me, I will definitely keep it confidential, and I'm not just going to be like talking to them about whatever the issue is.
Okay.
So
Okay. So just basically, since I am underage, my parents have the right to know some stuff, correct?
Yeah.
Understanding that correctly?
exactly.
Okay.
If they have any questions, I will have to let them know some of the details, but I won't go very like into too much detail or
Okay.
like talk about other things that aren't like really pertaining to what they were asking.
Okay.
Just so you're kind of comfortable.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great.
So can I ask you what brought you into this counseling session today?
So I kind of have been having some anxiety, and depression. And it's something that I've been dealing with kind of persistently recently. It's gotten a little bit worse. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's diagnosed anxiety or depression, but from the looks of it, I think it is, but I'm not sure.
So since you said it's kind of more like a little bit of a recent thing where it's starting to affect you with your anxiety and depression, do you think that there was like the feelings of anxiety and like depression, throughout like maybe your high school because you're around 16, or do you think this is just starting to like manifest?
I think this is kind of starting. I am taking a little bit more academically higher classes. I'm not sleeping a lot. My sleep is really bad. But I'm not sure. I just feel like I feel so anxious at times, and I don't even want to get out of bed sometimes, and I don't know what I can do. Like, I don't know what to do at that point.
Can you describe for me, what does your anxiety feel like to you?
So it kind of feels like I feel like really hot. I'm sweating. I'm overwhelmed. A lot of background noise bothers me. So typically when I'm anxious, it's during school. The worst is probably I have this one class that I have to give a bunch of presentations in, and when I do, it makes me extremely anxious. And I really don't know how to handle that anxiety.
So do you think it's more so like social anxiety, or you're having this anxiety just about like your classes and academics?
I think it's a mixture of both. For me, it's social, probably more when I'm presenting or something. I think that might just be normal, I'm not sure. But the other aspect of it is I'm also anxious not in social situations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding it correctly, you do get like the anxiety, you're kind of feeling a little bit uneasy, not only just in school with your classes and like presenting and stuff like that, but it's starting to kind of like affect you in how you kind of like perceive things a little bit.
Yeah.
Of that kind of
Yeah.
on the nose there. How about your depression? How does that feel like to you?
So depression is just, for me, I feel like it can be seasonal depression. And for me, it's like I don't want to do anything. I'm not feeling like myself. Yeah, that's basically the best I can describe it. I just don't feel like myself, and I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel productive. Yeah, it's just a weird feeling, and I don't know, it just happens sometimes. And it's really seasonal, so that's what I'm presuming, it's seasonal depression, I'm not sure.
No, yeah, that for sure is, especially with the region that we're in, with the winter coming and stuff like that, a lot of people do get, kind of depressed because, the sun isn't there and whatnot. But if it does affect you a little bit more than just the seasonal depression, even with seasonal depression, we should talk about it a little bit. Maybe it can help you alleviate some of those symptoms and the feelings like that. So with your anxiety, I wanted to ask you, do you have any kind of outlets that you can, or little interests or anything like that that you can do that helps you kind of manage it?
To manage my anxiety, no. I don't think there's any I can't think of any right now.
That's all right. Do you have friends that you can rely on that you feel supported with when you talk to them?
Yeah, so I do feel that my friends are a good support system, but I don't want to place my issues onto them.
Okay, I can see that. How about your family? Are they aware of this situation?
Yes. They're aware that I have some anxiety and depression, but they kind of don't say anything about it.
So would you say that they don't really know too much about the inner workings of how you kind of feel and stuff like that? They just kind of notice that there's a little bit of an issue going on?
Yeah, I would say that's exactly how it is. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that you're comfortable talking to your parents about these kinds of things, or are you kind of drawn?
So not really. I feel like sometimes I'd rather not say anything. I feel a little bit embarrassed sometimes in front of them when it comes to talking about my feelings. For my family, we don't really speak about feelings, so I think that's kind of where I'm also difficult to open up.
Okay, so although you do feel a little bit more difficult talking to your parents about these kinds of issues, you do feel though that your friends are able to kind of help you with that and understand you.
Yeah.
So that's good. All right, so we do have a little bit of some support group here. I wanted to ask you, I remember you mentioned that you're having difficulty with your sleeping because of the anxiety, do you think that with the problems you have with sleeping that kind of fuels a little bit of the anxiety as well and depression? Or is that kind of a symptom?
Yeah, that may be true. I feel like because I am so anxious during the day, then I also get anxious during the night, and if I don't sleep, then I'm anxious again, and it's kind of just like a cycle.
Okay, Gabby, so I'm kind of getting some insight on how your anxiety and depression is starting to affect you. I'm going to end the session here, if that's okay with you, just because I want you to be able to kind of process everything that you were speaking about and stuff, and see if there's any other links and whatnot that might be affecting you. But I can see you for the next session whenever you're ready, whether it be next week or 2 weeks or whenever that is for you.
Okay.
So then we can pick up from there. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
All right, it's nice to meet you,
Nice to
Gabby.
meet
I'll
you
be
as well.
seeing you soon, okay? Hi, Gabby.
Hi.
It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Doing all right? Okay. So today is going to be our second session, and I wanted to kind of pick off from where we left off last time. We were talking a lot about how you were feeling very anxious and feel a little bit depressed as well. I just wanted to know how you kind of feel now since our first session together. Do you feel any changes or anything?
So I did think about kind of what we talked about, and I think that I want to try therapy as an outlet. I want to find tools maybe that can help me with my anxiety. So I thought about it, and I feel that it would be beneficial for me to maybe open up about my feelings, just because I don't do that at home.
No, yeah. Can I ask you to rate your anxiety on a scale of 1 to 100? How's it feeling recently?
It's kind of like it stays at the same rate just because of school and stuff. So it's like kind of in the middle of that.
Okay, all right. How about your depression?
It's gotten a little bit better. I do feel a little more energy and like myself. I have been trying to make myself at least leave the house when I have off from school on weekends, because that's where I feel like it gets the worst for me, just because I don't have a routine.
Okay, so for the weekends, what kind of things do you do when you go out?
So I try to go to the store, just to go out, maybe get a coffee, because I feel like during the weekends, that's when I struggle the most with my depression.
Is there anything in particular that kind of like triggers a little bit of that depression over the weekend?
I think it's just not having a routine. I think that's what triggers it the most.
All right. So, with your anxiety in school, if I remember correctly from the last session, you were saying, you were feeling like some social anxiety with the presentations, and your anxiety is kind of caused by you taking like higher level courses and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, from the last session, have you noticed any differences with your anxiety? Anything that you've done since then?
A little bit better, just because I feel like I'm a little bit more productive on the weekends now that I go somewhere. I feel like I have more of a routine. I have less homework during the week. So I think that's probably what's made my anxiety feel okay, I guess, in that sense.
Okay, so can I ask you what you mean by you think is okay?
I think it's stable, as in I'm not having like panic attacks as much, let's say, as I did. It's still there, the anxiety, but I feel like the aspect of the panic, because I forgot to mention last session, I also do get some panic
attacks?
Panic attacks, so stuff like that. But I feel like I haven't been getting them as much, so I don't know if that's a positive.
Oh, yeah, it looks like there's some improvement, some progress going on that you're doing, so I will commend you for, taking some action, and that's what therapy is all about, We're trying to find the issue, kind of problem solve it, do some changes, and hopefully over time it'll be an improvement. So I wanted to ask you as well, with your anxiety, what kind of thoughts run through your mind when you're going through it or having a panic attack?
It's just everything. I think it's all my thoughts just at once. They're like clashing together. That's like the best way I could describe it.
So would you say you kind of feel like maybe overwhelmed with information? Overthinking. So I wanted to kind of put everything together, and I wanted to ask you, since I see that there's, you're doing some work here and improving a little bit with your anxiety now, I wanted to ask you if you have like any goals that you can set for kind of managing the anxiety and depression you're feeling.
So kind of what I've mentioned is that a goal I think for myself would be, well, maybe let's do some work on the weekends, put in the work, that way throughout the week my life is a little bit easier. So I would say that would be a big goal for me. The second goal would be to maybe try and not have anxiety as much as I am. It is getting a little bit better, but it's still there, as well as the depression. So I think that's kind of also a goal of mine.
No, yeah, with the anxiety for sure. I remember from the first session you were saying how it's kind of a little bit of a recent development, since you're in school taking harder classes. Yeah. So there are some differences in just feeling like you have anxiety versus an actual cognitive kind of like diagnosis where you do have an anxiety disorder. Anxiety is pretty normal in most people. A lot of people get the social anxiety, but there is going to be differences, if you do have an actual anxiety disorder that's developing. So we can work on some things to kind of help you manage working with your anxiety, just so that it doesn't, have you spiraling out. You were saying how you're not having as many panic attacks as you used to. So, you're doing some things already that are helping you in the long run. So for goals, you said, you wanted to help with more so on the weekend, getting through that. You mentioned how your depression kind of spikes up a little bit just because of the lack of routine.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you if it was okay to give you some homework if you want to come, or before you come back for the next session, if that is what you wanted to do. So for homework, I wanted you to write down some of the things that you enjoy doing, perhaps, like, activities, interests, hobbies, things you can do by yourself, with your family, with your friends. Just make a little bit of a list of things that you can do. So that way, over the weekend, you can kind of like look at it, maybe plan something in advance.
Okay.
Whether that's, just maybe watching a TV show or going out with your friends.
Okay.
Even just changing up your like routine. So if you like wake up kind of late, maybe try to wake up maybe an hour earlier.
Okay.
Do a little bit some differences.
Okay.
If that's all right with you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try that.
Okay. So did you have anything else for me this session?
No. I think I'm pretty good with everything that we've mentioned, and I understand.
Okay. So, for the next session, just do a little bit of homework, soul searching, try and find some things that you can do.
Okay.
And then we can go from there and see if it changed anything for you. So,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll see you next time.
Thank you.